The degree to which you let go is the degree to which you are free. The more attached you are, the more resistance you create. The more attached you are, the more you block love and money from coming into your life. However, when you learn this one idea that I'm going to share in this video with you, it changes everything. It allows you to stop putting people and things on a pedestal, which energetically, literally separates you from it. You will notice that self-sabotage happens when you make anything important. Self-sabotage literally blocks love and connection. It blocks money and abundance. And this happens because there's an aspect of the self that is attached to the past, that is attached to the outcome, and that's what creates resistance. And when you learn how to master what is called importance, which really means taking things from importance and letting it be natural for your identity, that's when things will really begin to change in your life. And what you're about to watch is a video that will show you step by step how to decrease the level of importance you give anything, how to actually let go, and how to allow the thing into your life. Whether it's a person, a loving relationship, it's money in abundance, it's anything you want to create in your life, you have to first off understand how to master importance and how to see it as natural. That's exactly what you're going to learn step by step in this video. You will find that as a result of this, you will find that you carry yourself different in the world. You will find that people respond to you in a new way. And you'll find that you allow something greater to flow through your body. So it's less about your ego controlling and it's more about allowing, which feels better, feels lighter, and feels much more magnetic. The more you let go, the more free you will be. The more you let go, the more you allow the divine to flow through you. Whereas the more attached you are, the more resistance you create. The more attached you are, the more you are insinuating that your ego knows what's best. And the ego creates pressure, and that pressure is control. So one of the most powerful things to remember is that the degree to which you let go is the degree to which you will become free. And letting go is easy. It's so easy. The only reason you think letting go is hard is because you may believe that it is hard. Or you may have a story that you should hold on because it's felt familiar to hold on. Like if I were to ask you right now to let go of a pen. Imagine you have a pen. And it's like, let go of the pen. Now, when people say letting go is hard, and someone says, okay, well, let go of the pen, it's easy to let go of a pen. You just make the choice. The reason it's hard to let go of the pen is because you may have had a story as to why holding onto the pen is good. You may have been holding onto the pen since the time you were a kid, and your mom and your mom's mom and your dad's dad, everyone may have been said, hey, hold on to the pen. And you said, okay. And then there's this meaning that's given to the pen. This pen your great-great-grandma used. And you say, okay, I want to uphold the family lineage and hold the pen. If I let go of the pen, I'm letting go of grandma. I don't want to let go of grandma. This pen is how I connect to grandma. But you see, that's what creates resistance. So is letting go hard? No. Letting go is easy. The belief and the meaning we give to letting go is what's hard. You can apply this also to a concept that you've probably seen me share on my YouTube channel. It's one of my most popular concepts. It has to do with decreasing importance. Anything you make really, really important, you create a lot of resistance around. And anything you make really, really important, you put on a pedestal. And what happens is there are balancing forces that cause resistance because it is not natural for that thing for you to experience it. This is what blocks a lot of people. It's what's called increased importance, is what I call it. Anything made very important creates resistance. Now, it's kind of like the pen. You could be experiencing a beautiful relationship. You could be experiencing a lot of abundance. But if you put abundance on a pedestal or a relationship on a pedestal, what ends up happening is you're creating resistance. Because you're telling reality, this thing is not natural for my identity. Does that make sense? By the time you're in the ideal relationship, or by the time you're of a certain level of abundance, it's not going to be this really, really cool, amazing thing on a pedestal. It's going to be normal. It's going to be natural. But you see, where a lot of people block themselves is they keep it in this resistant energy of attachment. And one of the main challenges with this is anytime you put something on a pedestal, you're trying to get something out of it. You put a person on a pedestal. This person represents validation and approval. Money on a pedestal, it represents security and freedom. When you know you are good either way, you will feel more free. It's funny, I had a friend of mine that reached out to me recently because she was rereading this book that I recommended to her a long time ago. Or she found it, and then she found my YouTube videos talking about the book. And then she was reaching out to me to talk about it because she said it shifted everything for her. She's in the process right now of possibly selling her company. And what happened is she got a quote for what she could get for her company, which is a crazy number. Tens of millions of dollars. And in that moment, she got excited. And then she started making it really important to sell the company because it was going to mean she could do all this next chapter of her life stuff she wanted to do. But then what happened is it started to create resistance. And that resistance started to block success in her business. It was like she was sabotaging herself because of that. And then she recognized it and she's like, wait, I'm good whether I sell my company or not. And she took it off a pedestal and her business went back to normal because there wasn't that imbalance of energy. Now think about it like this too. That's basically what self-sabotage is. Self-sabotage happens because there's an uncomfortable normalization of a new norm. Think about this. This is what we call self-sabotage, right? Give an example of something with self-sabotage, and I'll show you how it's increased importance. So let's say you're like, somebody says they self-sabotage themselves in a new relationship. I found somebody that sees me a certain way, and I feel so expanded when I'm with them, but then XYZ happened, and I self-sabotaged it. What happened is you put it on a pedestal. You made it really important. You said, this is not normal for my nervous system to be loved, to be seen, to be heard. And it created resistance. Does this make sense? So self-sabotage really is that identity piece that we're talking about right now. You want to see things in your reality, you're good whether they happen, you're good whether they don't happen, because you understand that outer reality is a reflection of your inner reality. But when you put things on a pedestal, you create resistance. And if you say, once I make this number of money, then I can feel safe and comfortable, create importance. You know, it's funny, even as some of my values have begun to change over the last couple of years, where back in the day, when I first started becoming successful, I started investing in different things, investing in properties and houses, and then my values changed to where I'm like, freedom to me is not having so many physical things. You know, you may have saw a couple years ago, I packed up everything, gave away all my stuff, and I started traveling. Because part of my values are freedom. And then what ended up happening though, is because of this shift, I started to see like my goal is to not have any house payments, no debt. I want to just be, like that's like a new belief. No mortgage payments, anything. But if I started to make the mortgage payments important, and I started to be wanting to escape out of certain like investments I've been in, it creates resistance, and then it starts to create problems. Whereas if I let go and know that I'm good either way, the resistance allows things to happen easier. Does this make sense? So what is an area of your life, if you're listening to this right now, what is an area of your life where you are creating resistance of importance? And that might be actually blocking you. Where is something that you might be creating resistance in your life with? Let's see. How can we stop self-sabotaging of being aware isn't enough? Well, if you're aware, first off, that's the first step. The second step is allowing yourself to be aware that what you may have familiarized was the old emotion, the old energy. It may just feel more familiar. So if you can let yourself feel the uncomfortable emotion around being around someone that maybe sees you in a new way, if you can breathe into it and instead of resist it, allow it to be there, that's very powerful. Because the reason you want to stop self-sabotaging is because you want to get to this next level, but also you may not want to feel the uncomfortable emotion that comes with self-sabotaging. But one of the things I'm saying is what you're being aware of is that the importance you are giving, because really, if you think about self-sabotage, if someone is self-sabotaging, it's basically an aspect of yourself that does not feel familiar with the new emotion or the new energy. And what if you saw, heard, soothed, and nurtured that part of yourself? This is a very powerful exercise you can do. Right now, feel into your body and talk to the part of yourself that is self-sabotaging yourself. Say, yo, what's up? What's up? What's good? What's on your mind? And a part of you might be like, hey, listen, man, I'm scared. Hey, listen, I don't know. What if this is unknown? What if something scary happens? And then you could start to hear that part of yourself. Does that make sense? Where is that self-sabotage inside of your body? Something else you can connect to. Is the pattern in your throat, in your heart? Where is it? And what happens is as you start connecting to it, you can connect to the pattern, but you can be aware that there might be a part of yourself that wants to be seen or heard. And as you acknowledge that part of you, you might find that your nervous system begins to relax. Does that make sense? If you have questions about what we're talking about, go ahead and put it into the Q&A box. Someone says, feel ugly. Okay, so if you make it really important, based on what you look like, you will create resistance around that thing. So there's an importance around the appearance, and there's also probably an importance around what other people think. Because if you say, I feel ugly, feeling ugly means there's some belief there. And ugly isn't really a feeling. What is the feeling underneath ugly, the definition? Because have you ever met somebody that just owns however they look? On both hands, you might have somebody that looks beautiful, but their energy may not be attractive at all. On the other side of that, you may meet somebody that physically, normally, might not be the assumed, most ideal, what people in society say is beautiful, but that person may have beautiful energy. So it depends on what you're valuing. If you value just the surface level and you're comparing yourself to other people, you might be creating resistance because that resistance is importance. But if you make it more about your energy, that's different. Have you ever had a certain part of yourself that you felt insecure about, but then you owned it, and then no longer did you feel insecure about it? Because you own it, you are more magnetic. Does that make sense? Think about it. Decrease importance. It's not important if you have a freckle or a mole or something going on. It's okay. And because you've accepted it, there's no longer any increased importance. This is a fundamental concept, by the way, if you learn, will completely transform your life. Decrease the level of importance you give to certain things, and you will decrease resistance. Let it be natural. Now, this is what we're talking about. When someone says they feel ugly, they first off must believe they must believe there's a certain standard of attractive and not attractive. Then they believe that they identify with that being not attractive. They may feel ugly, and then they may also compare themselves to other people, which will also create a feeling of not feeling good enough. To feel ugly, probably what's also happening is there's some form of feeling not good enough that has been familiarized. If it's normal to not feel good enough, you will look around and look in the mirror and be like, look, I have more reasons to not feel good enough. But what you might really be, the payoff might be, it's familiarized to not feel good enough. So to look in the mirror and feel ugly is something that allows you to feel what's familiar. So isn't it good to know? You're like, okay, Aaron, it doesn't completely solve it though. Well, are we trying to solve anything? Maybe the answer is self-acceptance. What if you could accept how you look? You could accept the mole, the characteristic you weren't accepting. By the way, the thing you weren't accepting is a thing that you were making important and creating resistance around. If you accept it, you decrease the importance. And then remember, people feel what you feel. So if you feel, I hope people don't notice my mole, I hope people don't notice this, you create resistance. Instead of realizing you can let it go and accept it, and by you accepting it, you might find that people play off the energy you're carrying. Someone says, what about aging and ego? Same thing. Aging, sometimes you'll notice some of the people that the most don't want to age are so stressed out about aging that they age faster. You look at some of the biohackers out there that are like, I'm gonna live to 600 years old and not gonna age, but they look a little stressed. Why are you stressed, bro? I think that when you're living in the moment and you're enjoying life, you're more magnetic and you literally age less because you're creating less time. I remember when I was on the flight coming back from Europe, there was this monitor, and on the monitor in front was the time until we reached the destination. And it was on almost the entire time. And every time I looked up, it was like 4 minutes later, 8 minutes later. I'm like, when are we gonna freaking get there? It was an 11-hour flight. The more I checked time, the more I looked, the more it felt like forever. It felt like a very long flight because I was checking time, creating more time, creating more time. But then, if I just put something over it or I turned it off, and I would sleep a little bit, I would watch something, it's like time would go by faster. I remember when I was a kid and it was like my birthday was the next day or something. And I would be like looking at the time. My birthday party was at 1 one day and it was like 9 in the morning. Just kept checking the time. It took forever. Of course, it didn't take forever at all. My experience was that I was creating more time because I was focused on more time. Time doesn't exist. I think a lot of people that age the most gracefully are the people that aren't afraid of aging. They're just living in the moment. But people make it really, really important not to age, create a lot of resistance, and they age faster. What's going on? So once again, a big part of this transformation we're talking about today is acceptance. Acceptance cures increased importance. Do you guys see? Yeah, self-acceptance, exactly. If you have questions, put in the questions. Oh, we got some questions. Let's see. Someone says, what are the ways to decrease the importance of becoming abundant? Like making money. In the same way, the focus a lot of times is on making money. The focus is on making money is important because if I make money, I will feel secure and safe. The kingdom of God is within. If you first off focus on feeling safe inside of your own body, if you recognize that you are good either way, it takes the same amount of, belief or energy to create X amount of abundance as a different amount of $100 versus $10,000. The difference is our belief in the process, and the difference is the importance we give to the 10,000 versus the 100. Might be a lot easier for the 100 because there's not a lot of importance. So to decrease the level of importance, one thing that I recommend is focusing on the value you put out. Focus instead on what you give. Because what you give is also present, is something in the present moment. Because remember, money is an energy that you get as a reflection of what you put out. A lot of times when people want to get money, they're focused on the getting instead of the giving. And the giving is the value you put out. It's the product you have. Focus on the giving, focus on the passion, focus on the energy. And when you're in passion and when you're present to the moment, you're not creating increased importance. Think about this even with dating. If someone is dating and what is happening and they go on a date, and it's very important that the person sees them a certain way, and it's very important that that person likes them, they're creating increased importance. They're creating that resistance, which literally blocks the other person from seeing the true value and worth and creates resistance in general. If you focus on enjoying the date, having fun on the date, your energy is not on the outcome, it's on the present moment. So you could say a big part of this whole idea of decreasing the level of importance and seeing it as natural is instead of focusing on outcome, focus on enjoying the process. Does this make sense? Someone says, what about social support like friendships and relationships? It's so important, and I can't trick myself into saying it's not important to manifest more quality friendships. I keep running into issues with people. That's a good question. So, what you're saying is friendships and relationships are important to you, and it's hard for you to say it's not important. Now, when I say not important, what you're looking at is the attachment to the outcome, the attachment to how people see you. You're in a way subconsciously trying to play God by trying to control the dynamic of friendships and relationships. If there's one thing you can't control in life, what can we all agree that it is? Can you make someone fall in love with you? No. Can you make people be your friend? No. But what happens is when you make it really, really important, you create pressure and resistance. And that pressure and resistance allows you and keeps you from naturally connecting to people. So the friendships and the relationships are really a reflection of connection that you want to feel in your life. And if you want to feel more connection, you can focus on that connection with yourself, that connection with God, and that connection with other people, but not that you're putting them on a pedestal. Not that you're putting the way that you relate to them on a pedestal. Not that you're putting whether they like you or not, or whether they resonate with you not on a pedestal. It's seeing it as natural and letting them choose. So this begs another question. When people want to feel chosen, what are you doing? I want you to choose me. Important. It's important you do something I want you to do. Resistance. And when you create resistance, guess what happens? You block the natural realization. You're not letting someone actually choose you. You're forcing them to choose you, which is very not magnetic. It's control. It's basically a way that your ego is trying to control reality. So instead, what I'm saying is if you trust the divine and God when it comes to friendships and relationships, you can trust that the right people will come into your life that are meant to come in your life. And by saying no to people that maybe have a dysregulated nervous system, people that don't share the same values of you, even though maybe it's felt familiar, what you do is you get energy moving in your life to where you allow deeper connections into your life. Does this make sense? So the importance is more so around understanding anything you make too important. It's natural for you to have positive relationships in your life. It's natural for you to have positive relationships or friendships in your life. Let it be natural. See it as natural to your identity. What is your inner self-image? If you believe that it is hard, and if you believe it's really important, that's where you create energetic resistance. That's where you create a separation. Does that make sense? Yeah, you're picking up what I'm laying down. Let's see. People are asking about the SP, specific person. I don't really talk about the SP because a lot of times your specific person is a specific pattern, to be honest. And anything you make on a pedestal, you create resistance around. And what you're doing, by even having the word SP, specific person, the utmost importance, when you think of somebody that says, this is my twin flame, or my specific person, or my soulmate, this is my person, you are creating resistance. And that resistance literally is the pressure you're putting on the other person to fulfill your needs, which is very much the opposite of magnetic. You're giving someone the burden to make you happy in life. And that importance will block that person from actually being able to connect to you. This is why it is so important to let go of importance. You see? Funny play on words there, isn't it? Which of course it's okay. It's gotta be okay either way. But to decrease the level of importance means you trust God. The ultimate version of this is you trust God more than you trust your ego. Your ego trying to control. When you let go, you become more free. And that's the key. If someone says, I was manifesting my SP, then I got to know he's in a 6-year relation. What should I do now? Let go. What other option do you have? You let go. What you think of as your SP is probably your specific pattern, and feeling not enough is familiarized on the inside. So trying to get and prove someone your worth is like maybe what you think you need to do. You don't need to do that. There might be a big story that's tied to that. Just like, remember, if we have a pen and we're like, it's so hard to let go of the pen. This is my one pen I will ever have the whole entire rest of my life. Pressure, 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 pressure. You can't control that. You can't control that. But if you believe it is, you won't ever let it go. Give it up to God. Let God bring you the person. Let God bring you the abundance. Be in alignment with the process. Be in alignment with yourself. Exactly. Let go and let God. When you do that, you are much more magnetic. So much more magnetic. Even when I start these Instagram lives, if it's really important that the hook is good so that people watch it, it creates resistance. I have to be good either way. I'm still aware that how I start the video is how people are going to watch it. So if I start this video and I'm like, hey guys, waiting for everyone to get in. Hey guys, I'm just still waiting. Oh, what's up, Carolyn? Oh, what's up, this person? Oh, what's up, this person? It's like, I'm aware that video won't get seen. Not as many people will see the video. I have an intention for people to see the video. So I started out with a little bit more of a hook. But if I make it really, really important, you might feel the cringiness of it, which I sometimes do. But because I accept it, it is what it is. Because I can acknowledge it out, you're probably like, oh, that's vulnerable. That feels real. Right? Yeah, awesome. Good for you. As my vibration has grown, I no longer tolerate being abused in any way, and I watch others still putting up with it and making excuses for the abuser because the dynamic is familiar to them. So it's interesting, right? Now that you're outside of that, and in a way you've learned from it, you're able to witness it in other people. One thing I've had to learn to do is, even though I can witness it in other people, to not judge the other people, because sometimes I'd be judging the other aspect of myself, like the past aspect of myself. I'm just grateful that I'm aware of the pattern. Does that make sense? Someone said, Jesus Christ changed my life, and I do not trust myself anymore, but his word, spoken word, which is the truth, not me. He creates life. You know, there's this interesting way that we relate to the divine, or to God, or to spirituality. And what I believe is, I believe that Jesus was a great reflection of that divine energy and embodied it in a very powerful way. But then what I believe happened is men came along and people came along that interpreted that energy through a limited consciousness. And what happens is there was a lot of resistance that was then created, a lot of importance that was then created, that then also separated us from the divine, because we believe it is out there. Just like you just said in your question, you don't believe that you have truth inside of yourself. It is only in Jesus. Well, Jesus is and carried an energy that you can also carry. A lot of times people like to put what he said to the side. When he said that the energy that is in him is also in you, sometimes people don't like to even acknowledge that or to see that. It conflicts with the idea that I'm just a sinner who's bad and I must worship this other person. Jesus did not want to be worshiped. The energy, the Christ consciousness inside of Jesus is the same Christ consciousness that I believe is in everybody. And I believe that from the teachings of Jesus, there's a certain interpretation that could be made that he also wanted other people to recognize that energy inside of themselves. But what happens is we keep it outside of ourselves. Because to believe that the divine is not inside of ourselves means that we need to stay within a certain belief system, and we need to keep putting the power outside of ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that the ego is God. What I'm saying is that there's a Christ consciousness that is in you, that is the Christ consciousness that is in everything, because all reality is a reflection of the one. Everything is a reflection. Everyone that you meet in your life is another aspect of God. It's another aspect of the divine. But what we like to do is we like to put labels on it. We like to put labels on the words. I am me, you are you, that is that person over there, that is a lamp, that is a camera, this is a phone. We put these, it's all God. It's all God. Everything is God. But because we believe that God is only in this one person that exists 2,000 years ago, we end up treating each other like crap. Because we don't realize that what he said is actually true. That Christ consciousness is also in you. So anyways, my perspective on that is that divine energy is inside of you. It's inside of everything. It's all you perceive of. The divine, whatever name you want to give it. There's so many connotations that come. I mean, they're just different. Connotations are like different meanings we give to things, right? Different meanings, different words. I think we're all we're all eternal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences. We've grown up in a certain culture, and we have a certain belief system based on the culture that we grew up in. And I think it's so interesting, the different belief systems that exist on our planet, like in our collective consciousness. And we use these as symbols, and we have a lot of people, talk about another concept that comes from that one book, Reality Transurfing, pendulums. These thought forms that are in our collective consciousness that many of us connect to. Religions are different pendulums. And many people believe in them, and then there's a certain consensus and a certain thought process behind it. I believe you can be deeply spiritual without being connected to any one religion. But I believe a lot of times these religions are also misinterpreted. That's what I believe. I believe that they're interpreted through humans. I believe ultimately we're all love, we're all God, we're all connected to this consciousness. Not just I'm not saying the ego is God. That's a insignificant little power, like part of ourselves that wants to feel powerful and proud and pride and all this stuff. I'm not saying that. Even that, though, is probably an aspect, a perspective of God from a certain perspective. But the larger consciousness that we all are is what we're all connected to. And when we say this person's more powerful than this thing over here, that also creates importance. So I choose to connect to the divine, to God, whatever name you want to give that. Anyways, I don't normally answer questions that are related to like the religion stuff, but I felt like kind of just talking about it. Let's see. Anyways, what do you guys think though? Or resonates for you with that? I'm curious. Ultimately, I believe beliefs create reality. What do I think happens when we die at the end of our life? You want to know what I think happens? I think that we are eternal spiritual beings living temporary human experiences, and that when we die, I believe that we probably have a life review. And the reason I say that is because thousands of people that have had NDEs, near-death experiences, have had life reviews. And at your life review, you get to see how you made other people feel, whether you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish when you came here. But I think that we wake up to higher states of consciousness. We realize that this was just a small dream that we forgot. I believe that beyond that, I believe every night when we go to bed, we are awake in higher states of consciousness beyond our body, but we don't remember it. We get dreams that our psyche uses to interpret information. But ultimately, I believe that we, in a way, go to a higher state of consciousness every night when we sleep, but then we wake up and we forget it. So when we die, it's just that we go there, but we don't come back again for our, once we die. Which is why when people die, I also, like when my mom died, for example, I still feel a connection to her. You could say maybe that's a coping strategy. It's a spiritual belief to make yourself feel good. But I believe that, maybe it is a belief, but I believe we're eternal spiritual beings, and I am able to connect in a deep way still, even though she's no longer here. And I believe that we can do that with people that have passed on. That's just my belief. I like how this live went from like attachment, letting go, increased importance, to God and religion and what happens when we die. I believe that one of the things we came here to learn is importance. Like we came here to realize that in reality, anything we make important, we put on a pedestal, create resistance around. How can we be good either way to trust God? Because that when we trust only the ego and we try to control, we create that resistance. Does that make sense? I believe there are lessons we have that we learn with people, whether we stand up for ourselves or not, whether you attract, if you have emotion, you will attract extremely emotionally, like think about this. You will attract people who are emotionally unstable and expressive if you have suppressed emotion on the inside. So if you have suppressed emotion on the inside that maybe you don't feel comfortable with, you will find yourself attracting people that have an overly expressed, maybe unstable energy, but that's a reflection of the energy that's not being felt on the inside for you. So we attract people based on the energy we're embodying. Maybe there's a lesson there for us to see as a reflection, to become comfortable with that emotion inside of ourselves. Does that make sense? Oh, that's nice. I'm hearing a lot of people say that you've had people pass on and you still feel connected. That's awesome. Someone says, I had an NDE and life review came in, and years that followed, everything changed for me. That happens so often to people that have NDEs, near-death experiences. They have a life review, and then after that life review, their life changes. They realize that life maybe wasn't about just making money. They realize that life is more about relationships and how they made people feel. Happens so often. And then we got to remind ourselves of it. I've actually had a life review before. I've had a life review long time ago, and it was very trippy. It was like crumpled up pieces of paper that were opening up, and then I would feel whatever someone else felt in relation to me, and then it would crumple back up and then uncrumple again in order like 15, 20 different experiences of that. Anyways, I am going to go eat. I am starving. I'm hungry. Some cool things that are happening. We'll get 222 people on. Oh my God, it's a divine spiritual number. Someone says you're a starseed. I am a human, okay? I am human, not starseed. What was I going to say? Oh, starting on Monday, who's joining? If you ever want to be coached or to learn how to coach, like a lot of people that follow me, I think, are people that are meant to make like a difference or an impact in the world. I feel like there's a consciousness shift that's happening on the planet, and more people are waking up every day. And that's why, starting on Monday, I'm running a free 3-week process called the Conscious Coaches Accelerator. It's called CCA. It's free. It's a $2,000 course for free in exchange for feedback. And Monday it starts. There is an application process, but if you're from my audience, you'll be moved to the front of the list and I'll get you in. Yeah, some of you already joined. If you do want to join, you can just comment CCA, and I will comment CCA below this, or DM me CCA, and I will send you the information. But it starts on Monday. I'll be going live on Mondays and Fridays for the next 3 weeks. They're 2 or 3 hour long hot seat coaching sessions. I'm going to be showing you how to coach, how to become a confident coach, the techniques that I use in my coaching, how you can use that with your friends or your clients. And that's starting on Monday the 3rd. And me and my friend Victor Odo are going to be doing it. And it'll be every Monday, Wednesday, Friday are the live calls. at 11 o'clock Central Time or 12 o'clock Eastern Time or 9 o'clock Pacific Time. And there's also course curriculum that's unleashed on week 1 and week 2. And if you want to learn step by step how to decrease the level of importance you give anything, if you want to learn how to be good either way with whatever is happening in your life, this video right here will really help you wire it in and create that inside out transformation. Check it out right here.